Good morning. It is Thursday, September 3rd, 2015. This is your morning edition on I-24 News. Coming up later today, the White House secures the necessary support to ensure that its flagship nuclear deal with Iran does not get blocked. A picture is worth 1,000 words. The world holds its breath at the shocking image of a young refugee boy who died en route to Europe as the refugee crisis continues to escalate. And later on the show, a new UN report states that Gaza will be uninhabitable by the year 2020. Good morning, I'm Yael Avi, and we begin in Washington, D.C., where the Obama administration can breathe a sigh of relief. In a major victory for President Barack Obama, Democratic Senator Barbara Mikulski of Maryland announced support for the Iran nuclear deal yesterday, providing the White House the votes it needs to prevent Republicans from scuttling the agreement. Minutes after Senator Mikulski announced her support for the deal, the agreement's architect, Secretary of State John Kerry, took to the podium in Philadelphia to reiterate the importance of the U.S. standing by its word to Iran while pledging Washington's commitment to its Middle East allies. We all know who those are. Some of these allies, though, chiefly Israel, are extremely concerned about the deal's effectiveness at reining in Iran's nuclear and regional ambitions, and have not been hesitant to express their deep reservation, nor, so it seems, is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu set to stop his battle against that deal. Joining me in studio, of course, this morning is I-24 News diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. With us also, Ami Kaufman, I-24 News contributor. Good morning.
Good morning.
And before we break it down, let's take a look at the following report about the making or breaking of this deal and discuss from there.
The Iran nuclear deal is now secure. The Senate votes are in to assure the agreement makes it through a congressional challenge. At least 34 senators say they will back President Obama's expected veto of a Republican resolution to disapprove the deal. In a statement, Senator Barbara Mikulski, who provided the deciding vote, said, "No deal is perfect. I have concluded that this joint comprehensive plan of action is the best option available to block Iran from having a nuclear bomb."
Even before the ink on the agreement was dry, we started being bombarded by myths about what the agreement will and won't do.
Secretary of State John Kerry defended details of the deal in Philadelphia.
Judge for yourself the difference between where we were 2 years ago and where we are now and where we can be in the future.
Even having reached today's goal, the administration continues its efforts to drum up support on Capitol Hill. There are still 10 Democratic senators who have not said how they'll vote.
If this agreement is voted down, those who vote no will not be able to tell you how many centrifuges Iran will have next year or the year after.
Kerry adds trust and hope is not a part of the deal. He says it's based on very specific matters that will be verified for the lifetime of the agreement.
Without this agreement, the Iranians would have several potential pathways to a bomb. With it, they won't have any.
Let's go straight to Washington, D.C., where we're joined by Times of Israel correspondent there, Rebecca Shimoni-Stoyle. Rebecca, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So is this it? That is the question that everybody here in the Middle East is asking. Is this a done deal?
Is it a done deal? Well, it does look like a resolution of disapproval will be greeted by a presidential veto that will be sustainable by achieving it's not a majority, of course, but by achieving a not too big minority. But on the other hand, just because the resolution of disapproval of the deal does not succeed in passing in such a way that the president can't veto it, doesn't mean that that's the only step that Congress can take if it wishes to derail or undermine the efficacy of the Iran deal.
Right. Now, when it comes, though, and Rebecca, you're staying with us for now, when it comes to Tal Shalev, to reactions in Israel to this, what seems to be, a move in the right direction for the Obama administration, or a move in the direction that gets them what they want. What are the reactions from the Prime Minister's office in Israel?
Obama secured the veto. The battle is far from over. So the Israeli Prime Minister is not raising his white flag yet, and he's not surrendering yet. First of all, there is the question of will Congress, will the Democrats or the Republicans, which one of them will have enough votes to disapprove or block the disapproval, the resolution of disapproval disapproval, and Netanyahu is keen, Netanyahu and the Republican Party are still keen on enlisting Democrats in order to have a filibuster-blocked resolution of disapproval. Netanyahu yesterday's officials in his office started to brief that Netanyahu never said that Congress could kill the deal to begin with, but his opposition has changed public opinion, has delegitimized the deal amongst the American public, and that the stronger the opposition in Congress to the Iran deal, the stronger the messages to Iran. So Netanyahu is continuing. He cannot at this point, since he is still seeking to enlist these Democrats, he cannot at this point say, well, the battle is over. But yes, you can feel a change of tone. You can feel that Israeli officials finally are starting to understand that this deal is a done deal. And for the first time, officials in Netanyahu's office are actually speaking in a positive way about resuming discussions with the United States about cooperation, security compensation package, et cetera, et cetera.
This frosted non-friendship that we saw over the course of the last several weeks. Rebecca, the question to you is, when it comes to, as Tal Shalev just mentioned, the Israeli administration beginning to somehow understand that this may be the done deal, is the Republican Party understanding the same thing?
Well, I don't think that the Republican Party strategically either wants or needs to treat this as a done deal at this point. In fact, I think in a lot of ways that would be a concession that they're not prepared to make. That is to say, we're going to continue to see this. This will continue to arise among Republicans as a campaign issue going into 2016, and with a number of U.S. polls showing that the American public itself does not necessarily agree with Congress that this is a deal that needs to be approved or should be approved. The chances are that this is actually a good talking point for a Republican Party that in a lot of ways actually appears disconnected with the center of the American electorate. So I don't think we're going to hear this go away in any sense, either among Republicans in Congress specifically or among Republicans on the campaign trail throughout the next year.
Tal, yes.
Just to say that there is starting to, the interesting aspect that is coming up these days is criticism inside the Jewish community against Netanyahu. AIPAC officials are saying that Netanyahu's Congress speech actually contributed to this failure, because Netanyahu's Congress speech contributed to the whole partisan element of this debate, and that actually created the situation in which we're looking at now. So and besides, deal, no deal, an important thing to know about this whole debate that has been taking place in the past few weeks, that it will have marks on the Jewish community, on its ties with Israel for the upcoming weeks and months for sure. For sure. And there is damage to repair.
No, very important point, because speaking of that, Ami Kaufman, first of all, reactions also from the Jewish lobby in the United States to this. To this progress.
A lot of people are wondering, if they went too far, especially if AIPAC went too far, if they went into a battle that they really had no chance, to begin with. And I'm glad Tal brought that up, because a lot of people are talking about, is AIPAC done or is AIPAC dead after this huge loss? Nobody's arguing if they lost. Yeah, AIPAC lost this battle, but they have not lost the war. Let's see a headline from a very right-wing media outlet that's called Breitbart, which is basically a kind of a Tea Party. They say the Iran deal, Israel lobby is dead and Obama killed it. This is a guy called Joel B. Pollack. He says AIPAC's loss proves that the so-called Israel lobby was never as strong as anti-Semitic conspiracy theorists said it was. AIPAC bet on influence within the Obama administration. It lost big.
Right.
This is really out on the edge. Nobody really agrees with that. But for a more sensible analysis, I think we should go to
slightly more balanced. Yeah.
Nathan Gutman is a very good analyst in the Forward. Says that they really got punched in the face, AIPAC, but it has happened before. He brings 4 instances where AIPAC has lost and came back fighting and came back with bigger donations. During the Reagan presidency, when they tried to sell surveillance airplanes known as the AWACS to Saudi Arabia, AIPAC really fought that one. They lost that battle. Donations doubled after that. Second major battle took place in 1991 when President George H.W. Bush conditioned a $10 billion loan guarantee to Israel on freezing settlements. AIPAC lost that one. There was a settlement freeze. Donations grew after that as well.
Interesting.
Fundraising leaped after the 2007 publication of a book by Stephen Walt and John Mearsheimer, which was really damning for AIPAC. And lastly, there was arrest of 2 groups, the top lobbyists, on espionage charges that were later dropped. But following the formation of AIPAC's dovish rival J Street, after that as well, donations grew. So they are not. Nobody should really cry or mourn AIPAC.
But since you mentioned J Street, all of these historic cases that you've been mentioned have happened before there was an alternative. This case actually actually, this whole Iran deal debacle actually strengthened the position of J Street in the American Jewish community, because if you see J Street and AIPAC as competing organizations, this shows a complete failure for AIPAC and a complete success for J Street.
For J Street, I mean, is that being perceived that way also by the Jewish community in the United States? It's time to be joined from Los Angeles, California, by I-24 News contributor Jacob Wirtschafter. Jake, good morning, or rather late good night to you. When it comes,
good morning, Gal.
Yeah, when it comes to the Jewish lobby, if you've heard the discussion here in studio, AIPAC supposedly losing this battle big. What does this spell for J Street? What does this spell for, you know, basically the Jewish community in the United States?
I spoke to a major fundraiser today for one of the, quote, pro-peace, pro-Israel groups here. And basically this guy was saying, we won the battle here on the Iran issue, but it's a very sad day for the American Jewish community to see this issue become such a partisan one. And looking on the longer horizon for Israel's place in Congress and Israel's advocates inside the Democratic Party, this battle will leave scars that go way beyond today's debate about the Iran nuclear deal. There's no doubt about it.
There's no doubt about it, and I mean it's something I think to look at as this battle continues. But when it comes to the Jewish lobby, though, and the Republican Party, I'm wondering out loud with you, Jake. You know, is this something that we're going to see the battle continue now with more, let's say, extreme Jewish lobbying to the veering away from the Democratic Party?
If this is about a Boehner, Sheldon Adelson plan to split the Jewish community and move votes to the Republican Party, it isn't going to work. They're not going to move 10% of the American Jewish public into the Republican domain for the next congressional and presidential election. And making the touchstone or the test of loyalty, this Iran deal, is a very bad strategic gamble on the part of the Republicans. On top of the damage it causes to Israel's place in Congress.
No, that's an interesting focus. Speaking of the Republican Party, needless to say, they are not stopping the battle. And one of the loudest American voices against the Iran deal has been Tom Cotton, a Republican senator from Arkansas. Cotton, who at 38 is the youngest current U.S. senator, has emerged as one of the most hawkish figures in the Republican Party, constantly challenging the president's foreign policy and using especially harsh rhetoric against the recently signed deal, just before Congress begins its final stretch reviewing the deal. Now, I-24 News diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev sat down with him to discuss the apparent failure. Tal, what did he have to say to you before we watched the report?
Well, on the contrary to what Jake just said, Cotton, who is, by the way, considered a presidential hopeful for 2020, he is one of the most promising figures in the Republican Party.
Definitely.
He does say, he of course doesn't accept the fact that there has been a failure or a defeat at this point. He says the fact that the majority of American people, according to some opinion polls, oppose the deal is a benefit and is an achievement, actually. But he also says that it will have an impact on the 2016 presidential election. He said the whole way the foreign policy debate has shaped and become such a substantive part of the American discourse will have an impact and will play into the Republican hands. That, of course, can be contested or challenged, but that's what Cotton believes. Let's hear what he had to say.
Let's hear what he had to say.
Senator Cotton, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
After the Iran deal was signed, you predicted that Congress will kill the deal. But at this point, it seems like the president is the one who is emerging victorious from this whole debate. And Republicans hardly have enough votes to prevent a filibuster. Are you ready to declare defeat?
No, I'm not. I predicted the Congress would defeat the deal because the American people would oppose the deal because it's very dangerous for the United States and for allies like Israel. It allows Iran to keep a vast nuclear infrastructure, putting Iran on the path to a bomb while doing nothing to stop Iran's regional aggression and their support for terrorism. In fact, enabling it because they're going to get tens of billions of dollars immediately under this deal. Now, I wouldn't call it a victory, though, when the president appears to be on the verge of getting just a small partisan minority to block a veto override of his deal. Because a broad majority of the American people do, in fact, oppose this deal. A majority of both the Senate and the House will vote to oppose this deal. And that will make it unprecedented in the history of United States foreign policy. Never before has there been such widespread opposition to a consequential international agreement, yet that agreement will go forward.
You're confident you're going to get enough votes to a majority in the Senate to oppose the deal?
Absolutely, yes. I believe the opposition to the deal is bipartisan in both the Senate and the House. So it'll, by definition, be a strong majority in both chambers of our Congress, as there's a strong bipartisan majority among the American people to oppose this deal. The sad fact is the way this deal was structured and the fact the President refused to respect the Constitution and submit it as a treaty, which under our Constitution requires a 2/3 vote, means that it might proceed with just a small rump minority in support of it.
But millions of dollars have been invested into this campaign, and opinion polls show that a majority of the American public opposed the deal. So what went wrong?
Well, I think too many of my colleagues in the Senate, too many congressmen in the House are discounting Iran's own rhetoric. They're discounting the threat that Iran poses to the United States and to allies like Israel. They're also too optimistic about the enforcement and the inspection mechanisms in this deal. I would say they're simply not listening to the American people who do strongly oppose the deal.
Some have argued that part of the reason that this debate became so partisan has to do with the strong opposition that was voiced from both the Republican Party leaders like you and the Israeli Prime Minister. How do you answer those claims?
No, I would disagree with that perspective. The President has made it clear from his words, going back to his very first campaign in 2008, that he wanted to pursue a nuclear deal with Iran and that he would pull out all the stops to achieve that deal. In fact, he started writing secret letters to the supreme leader of Iran shortly after getting elected. He looked the other way in 2009 when the Iranian people rose up in protest against a rigged election and against the Ayatollahs. So I believe it's President Obama who's pursued this deal, and no action by opposition political leaders in the United States or any Israeli government official has changed that fact. And if you look at the opposition to the deal, you'll see not only that it's bipartisan, but some senior Democrats like Chuck Schumer, a senator from New York who's an incoming Democratic leader, has stated a very persuasive case against the deal on the merits. This shouldn't be a partisan matter. When the Ayatollahs lead chants in the street, they don't chant death to Republicans, they don't chant death to Democrats, they chant death to America.
Well, let's assume that your battle against the deal has failed. What's the next step?
Well, it's important to note, as I've heard from many Israelis this week, that if this deal moves forward, it doesn't end the story with Iran. It just ends one chapter in the 36-year history of confronting the Islamic Revolution. Iran is still the #1 sponsor of terrorism in the world. Iran still continues to destabilize the region and spread sectarian conflict in Syria, supporting Bashar al-Assad, in Iraq, supporting Shiite militias, in Yemen, supporting a Shiite insurgency, in Lebanon, supporting Hezbollah. The United States and our allies like Israel need to confront Iran's regional aggression to make it clear that this nuclear deal is not opening a new day in which we're going to somehow reach a grand rapprochement with Iran. Also, on the nuclear front, we have to insist that this deal, weak though it may be, is enforced down to the letter to make sure that Iran is not cheating on it and accelerating their path to a nuclear weapon.
We've seen such an emotional and intensified debate over the deal in the past few weeks. Do you think it's going to have any implications on the 2016 presidential campaign?
Well, virtually nowhere in the world is the United States more powerful or more prestigious than it was 6 years ago. If you look in the Middle East, our allies no longer trust us and our adversaries no longer fear us. Vladimir Putin has invaded a sovereign country in the heart of Europe, and now he's threatening NATO with his air forces and his navy. China is building islands out of nothing in the South China Sea, threatening our allies there. So the American people see America's position in the world deteriorating, and they're opposed to it. And you can see that in public opinion polls. You can also see it in the positions of the Republican presidential candidates, all of whom would be stronger on national security, would be more steadfast in support of our allies, and more aggressive in standing up to our adversaries around the world. That means that in 2017, America is going to be back to its traditional and bipartisan role of leading for the fight for global stability and order.
And staying in 2016, just one last question. What do you think about the Trump mania that is taking over the Republican Party?
Well, I haven't endorsed any specific candidate, nor do I expect to anytime soon. Like most Arkansans, I'm going to watch the debates and speeches and campaigns until we vote next March. But I would say this, not just about Mr. Trump. If you look at some other of the candidates in the race who are non-traditional candidates who haven't held elective office, like Carly Fiorina and Ben Carson, add them all together and you see that there's a sizable group of Republican voters, even a majority according to some polls, who don't want to see business as usual in Washington. And I can sympathize because I ran on my campaign platform last year as ending business as usual at a time when America's position in the world is deteriorating, when we have a staggering national debt of $18 trillion and our economy isn't creating enough decent jobs with decent wages for working families. We don't have time for business as usual.
Senator Condon, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That time of the morning to move straight to the press headlines, the news you've missed while scanning the headlines, actually. And there was quite a lot of it this morning.
Quite a lot. I think people all over the world are opening their newspapers today, their front pages, and seeing the pictures, as we see here in Haaretz and Yediot Achronot here that were in Israel, of a young boy named Elan, 3-year-old from Syria, who drowned on his way from Turkey to Kos, attempting to get, a Syrian boy attempting to get to Greece. These pictures are just horrific, very symbolic of what's going on with this refugee crisis. By the way, his 5-year-old brother, Galip, was also washed up a few hundred meters on the same beach, drowned. We have a report about this and some other developments with the refugee crisis. Let's check it out.
Let's take a look.
The children's corpses washed ashore overnight. Police gently carried them off the beaches in the morning. Officials say 2 overcrowded boats crossing from Turkey to the Greek island of Kos capsized, at least 11 dead. Another shocking tragedy in this deepening crisis, this exodus. At least 350,000 people have fled war, terror, and poverty, entering into Europe illegally this year. And more than 2,300 have died at sea trying to get there. Fahad is trying too. He's 10 months old. We met him and his family in Izmir, Turkey, as they prepared to risk everything in a smuggler's boat to Greece. They're Syrian, fleeing the chaos there. We learned that smugglers charge $1,100 for adults, half price for kids, and saw how local merchants turn a grim profit too.
Look at this. This is not a life-saving device. This is for a little child.
The store owner didn't want us around after that. Every night for a week, Fahad and his family go to the beach, hoping to get out. Finally, they do. Their cell phone videos showing the overcrowded rubber boat, the fear on their children's faces. We take the ferry to Greece and find them safe and sound. The lucky ones.
Bye-bye, little boy.
Exactly as we said, the lucky ones. Because I think, you know, to me, this morning, looking at this picture, and you see the human toll that these people are paying, that the refugees are paying. And it would be mind-boggling to me to think that Europe, come Monday, when the meetings of all the EU countries to try and help these people, if they come out with nothing, it'll be shame on the entire world.
Very true.
Yeah.
And it is a ticking bomb, and it is particularly a ticking bomb in the Kaleti station in Budapest, as we can see from this next headline from the New York Times. There's basically a migrant city that is rising right outside the station. Thousands of people sleeping on the streets outside the station. They are not allowed to go to Germany, even though they bought tickets there for the trains. Really squalid conditions. They're sleeping in trash, and it's already getting cold at night. And people are still arriving from Greece through Serbia all the way to Hungary.
People are arriving, and we're looking at live pictures actually from this morning.
As they're waking up.
As they're waking up, these are the mass amounts, most of them, the bulk of them, as was discussed here in studio right now, the bulk of them Syrians. I think the argument of the fear of, you know, extremism, whatnot, with all due respect to the residents of Europe, when you look at so many children and people standing, refugees standing in Europe in front of barbed wire and police, it's just pictures that are reminiscing of a time that we all remember, and above all, people who really need the help of the international community.
I really agree with you, because I think these pictures are really unfortunate. I think what Europeans should really be doing in this case is putting out their hand and saying, yes, how can I help you? How can I help you?
And it should be a joint effort of every single country in the EU.
And just to end this refugee segment on a positive note, there are people that are doing that. I have a headline here from The Guardian. There is something called an Airbnb for refugees. It's called Refugees Welcome. It started in Germany with 2 people from Germany. Right now, what it does is it matchmakes citizens that are willing to share their homes with refugees. And there are right now 780 Germans that have signed up to the Refugees Welcomes website. So far, 26 people have been placed. There are more countries that are going to have similar websites in Greece, in Portugal, in the UK, in Australia. There's already something that's up and running from January. There's also going to be something in Iceland. So here are good examples of what Europeans can do to just alleviate this thing a bit.
And if a private citizen can do that, you know, it would behold countries of the world to actually try and do the same.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, off to other stories.
Yes.
Yemen, as we keep saying, the carnage carnage just keeps going on. But here, yesterday, 2 Red Cross aid workers were shot dead in northern Yemen. They were on their way from a mission in the city of Sada, on their way back to Aden, and their vehicles were clearly marked with the Red Cross
sign.
Yet they were shot and killed, and the Red Cross has suspended its activities in that area as if things weren't hard enough already in Yemen.
And to me, this spells, because there were days and times not long ago, maybe 30 years ago, the Red Cross and journalists were not targeted. It was a fait accompli that you do not target humanitarian organizations and journalists that we see,
and doctors
for Without Borders, and that is just a no-man's zone in the Middle East right now, and very sad. Yes.
Staying here in the Middle East, the Prime Minister Netanyahu had a meeting with his security officials, his Minister of Defense, Moshe Ya'alon, Gilad Erdan, the Public Security Minister, and others, saying that he is mulling opening fire, the okaying of opening fire on stone throwers in the West Bank. As you know, we saw pictures of that 12-year-old kid who was throwing stones and was held by that officer, and and his family came and kind of rescued him.
So now instead of grabbing him and then it'll be okay to shoot.
It'll be okay to shoot.
Maybe mulling
it over. But he's saying the policy is zero tolerance for stone throwing and zero tolerance for terrorism. Now, there's a lot to say about this, but
I think the world will have a lot to say about this.
I think the most powerful army in the Middle East probably has a better way to deal with stone throwers than just shoot
them. Yeah.
If we're going to, let's go to North Korea. This is a really bizarre story. North Korea denies it apologized for the landmine blast. I got to take you back a minute. Okay, on August 2nd, there were some South Korean soldiers that were injured by landmines. As a result, South Korea started blaring on loudspeakers propaganda into North Korea. North Korea started shooting at those loudspeakers, and it flared up, and they started shooting at each other. It was almost a war between a nuclear country and South Korea. They came to an agreement that they would apologize that North Korea would apologize for the landmines. And they say, listen to what they say. North Korea says, they are so ignorant of the Korean language, they don't even know the meanings and definitions of Korean words.
That's about their brethren. And
they said regret is nothing more than expressing sympathy, comparing the gesture to visiting a hospital patient.
For the love of God.
To offer condolences.
We did not apologize.
We didn't apologize. We just wanted to say.
Boo for you. Yeah. Okay.
But
listen, if conflicts can be resolved by words such as by a battle over the word regret or apology, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if we have time for one more.
Quickly.
The NRA apparently pissed off Bill Gates because he will now donate $1 million to an initiative that will make people have to do background checks to get guns in the States. Okay. And there are a lot of people spending money on this now.
On this one, okay.
Things might change there.
Well, go for the nerd. But when we get back, something different. Gaza, a new report by the UN says it will be uninhabitable by 2020. Stay with us. First, the news. Good morning. It is still Wednesday, September 3rd, 2015, and we move to Gaza. A new report by the United Nations determined that if nothing is done to help it, that is the Gaza Strip, the Palestinian enclave of Gaza will become uninhabitable by the year 2020. That's not that far away. The report by the UN's Trade and Development Agency states that 8 years of economic blockade and 3 military operations in the past 6 years have brought the coastal strip to economic and social disaster. The report highlights the severe crisis in Gaza related to water and electricity infrastructure, as well as the destruction of vital infrastructure during the military operations in July and August 2014. Food insecurity affects 72% of households, and the number of Palestinian refugees solely reliant on food distribution from the United Nations agencies makes up roughly half the population. To hear about the dire condition in Gaza, what can be done, and if somebody will do it, and it's 1.8 million residents. We are joined in studio by our Middle East analyst, senior Middle East analyst, Ali Waked. Good morning to you. Before we break it down, let's take a look at Gabi Weiniger's report about this new UN statistics and break it down from there.
Cut off from the outside world, damaged by successive wars, the Gaza Strip could become unlivable for its 1.8 million people in just 5 years.
Lots of infrastructure has been destroyed. Lots of industries and small workshops has been destroyed, not coming back to work. But add to that, also the donor money is not forthcoming as expected.
The UN prediction for Gaza's future is bleak. The report blames an unstable political situation, reduced aid, and slow reconstruction, problems pointed out by coordinator Robert Piper in his visit to the coastal area this week.
There's 75,000 houses in deficit for Gaza as a whole after 8 years of blockade on reconstruction. 160 schools need to be built to keep up with Gaza's demographic growth. The Gazans, 80% of Gazans are now dependent on assistance, over 70% are food insecure.
This dependency and insecurity has left little room for Gaza to recover from the latest war, a war that displaced 500,000 people and left parts of Gaza in ruins.
We've been expecting the reconstruction of the Harara family's houses and that of other families since last year. For an entire year, reconstruction was going very slow, despite the fact that many families were still homeless.
Many livelihoods, the backbone of the economy, have been restricted or unable to recover.
Before the blockade, there were 10,000 fishermen in Gaza. Now we are down to 3,500, which I think provides you an indication of the harassment and the difficulties that these people have been experiencing.
The findings conducted by the UN Conference on Trade and Development say if the present economic situation persists, Gaza's de-development will continue to unravel. The agency, which has provided assistance to displaced Palestinians, failed to say where the people will go, if it does.
We're joined from Geneva first by the coordinator of assistance to the Palestinian people at UNCTAD and the report's author, Mahmoud El-Kafif. El-Kafif, thank you. I hope I'm not butchering your name. Mr. El-Kafif, how damning is this report when it comes to how quickly Gaza can become uninhabitable, and what does the world, what is needed in order to prevent this bleak prediction about the Gaza Strip?
Actually, what's needed is reverse to what happened. Basically, what the report is saying that 2007 Gaza is under an almost complete economic siege, and it did not stop. It did not stop for, in a sense of its severity, for a week or so. Right. That's number one. Number two is in the last 6 years, Gaza experienced full-scale military operation, 3 full-scale military operations. And of course, we can have a sense of the amount of destruction of the infrastructure, water, sanitation, health, you just name it.
Yes.
So basically to remedy the situation is to reverse what happened, or at least try to reverse what happened. Number one is to lift the blockade and allow the construction material to move in. So basically, to reconstruct, start to reconstruct, start to rehabilitate the infrastructure, the manufacturing sector, the agricultural sector, the fishery sectors, and reconstruct the lives of the people, and lift the blockade. Practically, what we are saying is there was a treaty which was signed, an agreement was signed in 2005, which is Movement and Access Agreement, and I think the EU was. Took part in this agreement. It was signed between the Israeli side and the Palestinian side in 2005. It was for me three main points. Number one is to reconnect Gaza with the West Bank and reconnect Gaza with the rest of the world. Number two is to establish a seaport in Gaza. Number three is to negotiate on the construction and establishment of an airport of Gaza. I think these are the
main points that have not been moved forward in any way, shape, or form. Q and Ali Waqid, I'm asking you with us in studio, all this money that was pledged, Gaza hasn't seen it yet.
According to the Palestinian Authority, only 16% of the donations and contributions that were supposed to come to the Gaza Strip reached the Palestinian treasury. Of course, beyond the fact that the number is very modest, there is this division between the Palestinian Authority and Hamas that prevent to establish a clear program to reconstruct the Gaza Strip. But I want to mention one thing. Our guest in Geneva emphasized over the physical and the infrastructure pressure situation that turns the Gaza Strip uninhabitable. I think that uninhabitable is also a state of mind, and this is the state of mind of the Gazans, that you cannot live in the Gaza Strip, even if it is reconstructed. They lost trust, whether on Hamas and in the international community, but also in the Palestinian Authority. We are shocked by the pictures that come from Turkey.
Have they lost their trust in Hamas, the residents of Gaza?
I think that there is an important percentage of people that are losing trust in every political level. Yes, and we are shocked by the pictures we are seeing from Turkey, the kids that are drawn, but there is the same phenomenon in the Gaza Strip. Gazans who try to flee the Gaza Strip and lose their life in the sea.
And then lose their life at sea and lose their... No, it's very true. I mean, listen, a dead child is horrific no matter where it comes from. But when it comes also to the fact of the disconnect between Gaza and the West Bank, is there a way that, you know, as our guest, as Mahmoud mentioned from Geneva, when it comes to the Palestinian Authority and its concern about Gaza, are we seeing also a breakup in that respect, that there's just no connection between the Authority and Hamas?
And unfortunately, there is also an escalation in the tension between the Palestinian Authority and Hamas. The Palestinian Authority made it very clear that it will not discuss further support to the Gaza Strip once Hamas does not deliver the cross borders to the Palestinian Authority. They are conditioning the support to the Gaza Strip with the fact that the government should implement its power in the Gaza Strip.
And as we said, almost 2 million people in the meanwhile are stuck in the middle of that in a big prison. Ali Waqid, I want to thank you for being with us this morning as we move along. Now, while the conditions in Gaza get constantly worse, Palestinians living there can look in envy to some of their compatriots who this week became the residents of a brand new city in the West Bank. As we said, West Bank and the Gaza Strip are very much separated on the map. After many years of planning and construction, the city of Rawabi, that is outside Ramallah, received its first residents this week, and I-24 News correspondent Mirav Savir was on hand and filed the following report. Let's take a look.
Rawabi. Several years ago, it was just a vision. Now the first families are moving in.
We wanted to do a project with a large economic impact for Palestine. We wanted to prove to ourselves first that we can build a Palestinian state. This is one small component, and we wanted to show the world of our ability to build. We are about construction, not about destruction.
A brand new city situated just north of Ramallah. It cost nearly $1.2 billion and is funded by a private company, Masar International in Palestine, and Qatari investor, Qatari DR. Rawabi is built from the land it's located on, all excavated from this quarry, which is right outside the city. The stones are yellow, white, and gray, prompting the nickname Gold Palestine. Rawabi was built to be an affordable city, 20 to 25% cheaper than Ramallah. There are several different apartment layouts of 55 different sizes. The sizes of the apartments range from 90 square meters to 220 square meters, and prices range from $62,000 to $22,000.
It's open to any Palestinian that wants to buy in Palestine. We do not target any foreigners because this is about Palestinian and the Palestinian people. They've been looking for something advanced, sophisticated. They've been looking for upgrading their standards of living. They deserve better, and they are getting the better.
When it's all done, Rawabi will have 23 neighborhoods, its own school system, a medical center, a mosque and a church, a city center with movie theaters, a pool, a spa, a hotel, and a convention center.
And this, a Roman-inspired amphitheater that fits 15,000 people. And we're being told that local Arab musicians are already prepared to take the stage.
So far, 2 neighborhoods with 600 housing units are ready to go. 2 more neighborhoods are in the works, and the sites for the 5th and 6th are being excavated.
Our living room.
Khaled Dalanle and his family moved in several weeks ago, one of only several dozen families, which he says sometimes makes the city feel like a ghost town. He and his wife signed the contract 2 years ago. The sign they're holding in this picture reads, "I bought a new house in Rawabi." Today, outside their apartment, the construction continues, but inside, it's home.
When I came home and opened my door, I feel comfortable in my homes. Kids can play in front of my door. Everything is good. Even the construction works beside my home. I feel comfortable.
Alain Le is a civil engineer and knows what it takes for a project like this.
This is the first time I faced a huge construction, huge projects being decided in Palestinian territories. And it's a good example for Palestinians who have a good thinking, have a good ambitions for future.
And for the future, this is a new city, and there's still a ways to go.
23 neighborhoods, 6,000 units is the first phase of Rawabi. I believe Rawabi will be like any other city in Palestine. It has no ending. It will continue on growing and developing for the next tens of years.
We're now joined from Rawabi by Amal Mughrabi, Rawabi Council Member, Architect, and Chair of the Palestine Businesswomen Forum. Good morning to you.
Good morning, dear listeners.
Amal, I want to thank you very much for being with us. This is quite an undertaking and a very hopeful construction for a future Palestine, as was mentioned in the report. Are there people moving in? How many do you expect? And what was the reaction was finally done?
Actually, before 2 months, one family started to move to Rawabi city. And that encouraged other partners to go and to move. Now we reach around 30 persons, families now in Rawabi city, and we are expecting 150 at the end of this year to move and to start their life in the Rawabi city. Around 600 apartments are already finished, and they took the keys of their apartments, and they are encouraged to be there at the mid of 2016 in the next year.
In the next year, and I think it's a remarkable undertaking. We had a report shortly before we moved into this segment about the dire situation in Gaza, Amal. And is there a hope, because it's such a hard thing if we're speaking about a future Palestine, to connect the two areas, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip? As a council member of this newly established city in the West Bank, in the occupied territories, is it your hope to also to see things like this happen in Gaza as well?
Actually, life will continue. Even Gaza have a problem, or through the history we have issue in Palestine and Gaza, but still we are optimistic to build and stay on our lands and continue our construction and progress in our lands.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for you, and I'm hoping for the people of the West Bank, that this will be indeed the case. And wonderful having you with us this morning from Rawabi. That would be the new Palestinian city outside of Ramallah, as we saw in the report just now. Now, when we get back, something entirely different. The Danish girl follows the life of a transgender who in 1930 became one of the first people in the world to undergo sex reassignment surgery. That would be probably way, way, way before any Bruce Jenners. Now, a trailer is released. It's a film that everybody's looking forward to. We'll take a closer look. Stay with us. And before anything else, as in every morning, some of the morning headlines. I-24 News on this Thursday, September.
Didn't get me today, did you?
It's our shtick. Yeah.
Is it
it's
a new
our thing? Yeah.
Can I apply to do that as well?
Yeah, it's a closed club. Yeah.
This is mine.
This is yours. I was wondering, to me, I said, I think we should open this for discussion. That Ami, who was, I'm so proud that I managed to drag him to the show, but has developed a phenomenal ego. As can be evident, but by his choice of colors.
Okay.
Because I think you're trying to upstage me.
Ooh, I could never do that. But it's just, my ego was always there, just kind of.
Just exactly.
It's coming out.
But you got the pink memo this morning, clearly.
Totally.
You got the pink memo.
Yeah. This is a new bow tie, by the way. I didn't say anything.
I did not.
And you have like a thingy that goes along with that thingy, and it's all like thingies galore that going together.
It comes together. It's packaged.
Comes together.
Fantastic.
And we are moving to Ronnie Scott. Exactly. Who is our fashion, no, just kidding, a culture contributor, I-24 News. Ronnie, lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you.
What is, and I'm glad that you're sitting here and that we're moving to something lighter because this morning was so sad and depressing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we have to alleviate this a little bit. Yes.
Absolutely. So I have to say that I was I'm excited about my news today. There's a lot of very fantastic things going on in this world, in this fair, where you forget about everything else in the world.
Everything horrific and death and destruction.
Yes, but it's also... Let's just start. So we're gonna start with the trailer for The Danish Girl, the new film starring Eddie Redmayne. I think that we have a trailer. Maybe we'll start with that and then we'll talk about it.
I want to sketch you. Lily. We should go out tonight. Give them something different. Lily, you're exquisite.
You're different from most girls. I feel I'd need to ask your permission before I kissed you.
Ah, wow.
I cried twice yesterday when I saw the trailer. Twice. It is the story of Lily Alby, who went through a sex transformation surgery in 1930.
It's amazing to me. I don't know the story at all, and I'm I'm a trivia details freak. Yes.
So he was a man. He was an illustrator, an artist. He was married to Gerda Wegner, and as they were together in their relationship, he realized more and more that he is finding more and more feminine features in him. One of the most amazing things about it that is featured in the trailer is that she stayed with him throughout the way.
Right.
I mean, it's just, and you know, coming this year, everything. Caitlyn Jenner.
I was about to say, from the Bruce to Caitlyn Jenner, the transgender issue, which was also, and you covered that for us, which was also in this year's Pride Parade in Tel Aviv. That was, you know, it's just like the theme of it, actually.
Absolutely, and it's heart-moving to see that there's so much work that is being done in that era that no one has talked about.
1930.
1930. She was the first person to ever go through such a surgery. Of course, there is criticism. By now, director is Tom Hooper, King's Speech, Les Mis. Eddie Redmayne won the Oscar last year for playing Stephen Hawking's image character, and of course there's already criticism for the fact that Eddie Redmayne, not a trans, why would they not choose a real trans to play the trans? Tom Hooper was talking about it, about the fluidity that Eddie Redmayne has in his own features, which is true.
I always listen to arguments as such because at the end of the day, I don't know if you remember the movie Trans America. It was a phenomenal movie, also about a transgender, played by a woman, by the way, from Desperate Housewives. But I think, you know, if you're an actor, you're supposed to be able to get into parts, and I don't think, you know, acting is all about actually portraying something other than you. You don't really have to have an
absolutely, and the subject is already here. Absolutely, and the most important thing is the fact that this is becoming a hot topic, that everyone's talking about it. Everyone's going to see that. You know, obviously it's an Oscar.
And it's coming out right into Oscar season.
Exactly. Right
because
before
everything
Oscar.
Coming out in September is basically that.
Yeah. It's coming. It's coming out later. It was just the trailer. It's gonna come out in January, right before. You know, it's gonna be just on time for they're all to be very excited.
To be there, but definitely one to look out for and to see.
Yes, definitely. Another really interesting thing, Givenchy is having a collaboration with Marina Abramovic for this fall-winter 2015 fashion show. More exciting is the fact that they're opening the show to the public, which is, I think, again, it's another amazing idea. Of course you are. Of course you're there. They're opening it, and they're also giving 280 tickets for people that live around the area. We're not sure where it's going to be.
Okay.
They're gonna publish that later, and then people are going to try and get their tickets to see it. And I think that's another. I mean, yes, it's fun and la 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 and everything, but I think that the idea that everyone deserves to relish on aesthetics, to see things that are a little different.
Footage, which looks quite, bizarre, I have to say. Yeah, I don't know what that means. 5 minutes? Yes, it's my right pose.
Well, you know what that means, so and it is a fashion show, so just saying, but let's move along. Yes. So, I mean, it is amazing just to think about the fact that fashion is given to everyone. It was such a, sitting out there in the Olympus only for the richest and most beautiful
and whatnot. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that the idea behind it is so much more, is so much stronger than the actual fashion show that people are going to get excited. And it is Givenchy, so it's going to be exciting anyway. Another exciting thing, Miley Cyrus, Amy Schumer, and Tracy Morgan would be the first 3 hosts of SNL 42nd season that's going to start next month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right, Tracy Morgan is doing well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So looks like Miley Cyrus will be joined by Miley Cyrus. Amy Schumer will be joined by The Weeknd.
No, I'm just those pictures from the music. It's just the
VMAs.
Yeah, the VMAs. Yeah.
Well, we have to talk about the
very good. Okay,
well, there's a lot of dress here comparing to everything else that has happened. I do want to talk about the fact that Miley Cyrus is becoming a consensus. Considering the fact that Miley Cyrus was something that it was a provocation, everyone was talking about it. Is she allowed to be featured? And after everything that has happened in the VMA 2 years ago.
She's completely Madonna-esking herself in so many ways.
She really is, and I really think she is doing so many, going back to trans awareness, she did create Happy Hippie that is for LGBT and trans community for teenagers that are not finding themselves. I do think that Miley Cyrus is giving something, and I was the first person to say she's going to be in rehab in 2 months, and she has no idea what she's doing. Yeah. And I'm eating my hat right now.
You are, because in many ways I have to say it's a very far, she's come a long way from Hannah Montana.
She came a very long way from Hannah Montana. And she's not anymore, she's a phenomena. She's not this provocation that everyone's like, Miley Cyrus.
No, she's up there with the Lady Gagas and the Madonnas of the world.
And she just hosted the VMA. She's now going to be in SNL. This girl is doing everything right now. She's not, this...
I know. I mean, I'm trying to. Well, it's my personal opinion.
After her speech, when she got an award from the AIDS Research Foundation, I became a fan.
No,
I wasn't.
Definitely. Just to me, and I'm speaking just as a sign of the times, and also as somebody who is, not as young as you. But the fact that in the last music awards, out of everybody, the person who looked the sanest was Britney Spears. Really speaks volumes. Really, it does.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Britney Spears was the only one dressed.
But I do want to say that even though Miley Cyrus is not wearing anything other than things that will cover her nipples, she's doing something amazing because she's not sexy. She's not working her sexuality. She's working her body. And I think that we are moving into a new idea of objectification of women versus a woman saying, this is my body, it's not a big deal, these are tits, this is my pelvis, get over yourself. And I think that she is moving us towards that.
I hope so. I'm the sarcastic cynic, the person who thinks that the nutcases and the chauvinists will still look at her with that stripe over her breast and go, yummy. But,
True, but it's not sexual anymore. She's not portraying herself as something that you need to desire. And even the chauvinists and the sexists are looking at it and go, what the? Which is something I appreciate a lot. They don't, they're like, it's too much for them.
And maybe we need to try it in the studio.
We do.
Ami,
next time.
Let's start with you
Next time, just like hearts on the nipples. That's going to be you next time.
I'll follow you.
Yeah.
We start.
Let's start with that. Okay, which is the time, actually, to move to the viral spiral that is Ami Kaufman.
Right. Okay, we're going to start with some very shocking and dismaying,
disturbing,
very disconcerting pictures coming out of Hollywood. Kermit the Frog was seen yesterday with another
again.
With another pig. Her name is Denise. Apparently, we have a picture of her. This is a headline from CNN.
Her name is Denise.
Her name is Denise. She is a marketing assistant at ABC. These are very, very shocking pictures.
This
is amazing. Where are they releasing all of that thing? Like, where is it coming from?
This is actually a brilliant campaign by ABC.
It really is.
It is
a brilliant campaign.
It's very well done. But let's play along.
I'm going with it.
Okay, so we can see.
This looks like actually like Angelina Jolie just piggied herself.
Right, she does.
It really does. Yeah.
Now, a lot of people were really angry about that. So Kermit had to go to social media and react.
Yeah.
Let's see how he'd react. He said, "Sheesh, you know, sheesh. I can't believe I already have to do this again. Here is the official statement on my relationship status. While I prefer to keep my personal life private, this is Hollywood, so who am I kidding? It is true that I am dating again. However, at this time, no one woman or pig otherwise is my official new girlfriend. We are simply close friends." Now, people are wondering, did Miss Piggy react to this? She did. Not only did she did not react.
Silence.
She was on social media. What was she doing?
What was she doing?
She was flirting with William Shatner, with Captain Kirk, who asked her if she was available. Let's see what Miss Piggy's answer was. Her answer was, "Very much available, mon cher. Give me a call. I'd love to boldly go where no pig has gone before."
Okay, this is. I think we're going to have to devote. No, we're going to like an in-depth reportage into this, but it speaks volumes.
Now, by the way,
really
I see a flaw in this marketing scheme, by the way, because if you watch the Muppets, you know, pigs in space. She's been everywhere.
Dude, pigs in space was my favorite.
I want all the vegan people to like take this campaign and move it into. Do you want to eat Miss Piggy?
You want to eat Miss Piggy?
Did you just eat Miss Piggy? I just want us, all of us vegans.
I hate to break it because I look at Miss Piggy sometimes and think, yum.
This is a problem, and we'll discuss that further after.
Bacon,
yeah, with the blonde.
Speaking of food, which brings us to our next topic, a lot of people love Nutella. I like Nutella. There's a problem that sometimes people eat your Nutella when you're not around your Nutella. So this German engineer said, "I will build a lock. It is now specifically a lock for Nutellas that you can buy on eBay for a few bucks." And people are buying this.
Does it work only on Nutella?
It's only made for the Nutella jar that size.
Nutella jar that size. Okay. Yeah. And moving along. Yes.
This is a really cute video. It's going viral. It kind of gives some new meaning to just hang in there. And I think the video kind of speaks for itself. It's a video of a beagle. Let's watch it. What happens to this beagle? Just hang in there, kiddo. Hang in there. Come on, let's see it.
Yes.
Oh, help me.
Oh, he almost had the whole thing.
Like, I'm there. That's horrifying. That reminds me of my kids.
Yeah.
So many ways. Yes. No, I want the window.
Hang in there, kiddo.
And
New Zealand. We've been actually following this story about, the public is being able to vote for a new flag. They have this old flag that looks like the Australian Union Jack with some stars. They had about 10,000 submissions from the public, but it's narrowed down to 4 flags. Let's see the 4 flags that might be New Zealand's new flag.
Oh! Wow.
Very different from the
This
original.
actually is a good tattoo.
Spiral, but most of them actually have what they call the silver fern. That is another symbol.
It's a symbol
of I don't know, ferndom.
Ferndom?
I don't know.
Whoa! Yes, that's interesting. But I mean, that's it's almost really like the land of the hipsters in some ways.
Look what's going to happen. They're going to have a referendum in November to find the final one, and then in March they're going to have the winner of this against the original, the old flag. So it still might not happen in the end. It's not that they're still going to vote. This is the original one.
This is the original flag, but this still might not happen. Listen, I want to move to New Zealand because if these are their issues and problems, come on, that is the place to live. And but speaking of issues and speaking of world reports, we're getting reports just now, and we can look at live footage that in Hungary, and in Europe actually, and in Hungary, where the refugee crisis has been spiraling out of control. We saw pictures of people stranded this morning in Hungary. Finally, they are letting these thousands of refugees that have arrived and are trying to get on trains that they bought tickets for.
They bought tickets for these
They bought tickets for these trains to get to Germany. This has been the story for the last 24 hours. They're being allowed on those trains. That is a good thing. I'm wondering out loud with my colleagues in Studio Army with you if this is some sort of a reaction to the horrific picture that we saw this morning of a young child, a very young child, dead off the shores of Turkey. Those are the people who are trying to get to Hungary by any means whatsoever, giving their money and lives in the hands of smugglers. When they make it to Hungary and they're trying to get to countries that have eased restrictions on refugees from the war-torn country of Syria. So now the trains have opened up for the refugees that have arrived in Hungary, that managed to survive and arrive in Hungary, and they're getting on the trains now. That is actually somewhat of a good culmination of part of this story. And of course, when we get back, a completely different story. Somebody saving their lives with dance. Stay with us. First, the news. Welcome back. It is still Thursday, September 3rd, 2015. This is still the morning edition of I-24 News. Thank you for staying with us, and you should have, because our next item combines female empowerment, something I love, and dance, something I don't know how to do. Shira Robbins had been married for 5 years. She's sitting with me here in the studio. Now, with 2 children, when her husband decided to adopt a strict religious lifestyle. Despite her attempts to accommodate, the gulf between them grew insurmountable and led to divorce. So the arduous divorce process, overseen by Orthodox rabbis, and that is a very difficult process to go through, left her in custody of the children, but deep in debt and physically and emotionally drained. Her salvation came in the form of dancing, a long-neglected passion which she eventually turned into a calling, and today she is the owner of a patented dance instruction technique, which Amit Kling, sitting with us in studio also, will be demonstrating shortly on.
I'll probably be falling sideways.
But still, no. We just wanted to see you on camera. Shira, it's lovely to have you with us. And I think before we explain anything, we need to see a little clip of what this dance means. So let's have a look. Okay, I can't wait to see Amit do that.
That's why it's only women.
It's only women.
It's only women.
Why?
Yeah. Well, first of all, my theme and my goal is to take a woman and get the best out of her. And if there's a man, no offense, but she's not going to...
There's nothing good. There is nothing good in this.
They're going to offend you. You're a man.
There is nothing good in this.
That's offending.
Yeah, if there's a man, then...
So she's not going to sweat all over, and she's not going to take her body to the extreme point of herself, and she's going to be aware of how she looks and how she's looked at, and I want her to be free. So we're men free in the studio.
You're men free because of that, because it's just for the...
I've been saved.
No, I'm assuming though a man would feel the same thing if he has to dance in front of a woman, which many men I know should. Feel that way. But this comes from a very personal, you came up with this patented dance form because explain to me what happened to you in your personal life that, gave birth to that.
Well, what happened was I got married when I was 23, very normal, in love, young lady. And
too young, honey.
Too young. I know. Now,
yeah.
I know. No. I'll tell my kids when they grow up.
I'm telling this to myself. You're speaking to a woman who got married at age 39. Go ahead. Yes. So.
Well, we were very much in love, and he was a spiritual seeker, which was great until he found the religion, God.
Yeah.
And
look, don't find.
Just keep searching. Yes.
Exactly. So
sorry, religion, because I think God is a fabulous thing. Institutionalized religion tends to turn it into something different. Yes.
Very subjective. And he started to become religious, and it became, in the beginning it was very light, but it took around 5 years, and he became ultra-religious. I was obligated to his life, and slowly by slowly I started to lose myself.
Right.
I became his partner and not Shira Robbins. Yeah. And I was a dead person. I found myself from being very young and enthusiastic to being a walking dead person. And all I could think of, how am I getting out of it?
I'm sure.
Exactly, day by day. How am I gonna get through this? And I had no choice. I had to find something to get myself living again. I had 2 children at home, very young, a baby and a 4-year-old, and I had to start living again, so I went to dance. And it started from once a week and twice a week and 3 times a week, and I found myself every day trying to get myself through the day by dancing.
And what is different about your technique, about the technique that you patented, which I understand is very successful now?
Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah, there's God. Yeah.
A universal one. Yes, my technique is not just about fitness. It's not just about calories. The essence of it is empowerment. And a woman that is beautiful is a woman that is happy. And it's not just about how she looks. It's about how she feels. So if this combines together with her body, it's the perfect
it's a perfect solution in many ways. Who are the women who come to your classes?
First of all, it's women. It's not young girls. It's 30 to 60, and I have very different. I have Arabs, Jewish, religious, non-religious, heavy, slim, old, young. Everybody is welcome. As long as you are a woman, you're welcome in the studio, and that comes to you again.
I'm fine. I'm devastated. Yes.
Okay,
I'll just continue overcoming my problems with drinking.
Exactly. Because I wanted to say I dance like that only when I'm smashed drunk. So
you're saying it like it's a rare thing.
Yes, but I mean, because it looks like because when I'm smashed drunk, I will go and feel very empowered, and go, yes, I can dance. But it seems that you're giving that opportunity to women in a closed room. What are have you had students or women in your classes come to you and say that it changed their lives as well?
Sure. First of all, I come from my personal story, and it changed my life. So my goal, what I want to do is change other people's life. And when I give them their happiness, I inspire them, they inspire me.
But will you ever do this also in a class just full of men?
No.
Why?
First of all, it's different. Men have a different anatomy. Men have different way of thinking. Their emotional plan is different. And I'm a woman. I'm very much of a woman. And it's just different. They need a man to take them, through their journey.
Drinking.
Yes. No, they definitely demand drinking. Listen, I agreed with Amit Kling. It's a horrible thing. But sure, it's a phenomenal endeavor, and I think it's a phenomenal thing that you found a way to express and bring it out to also other women. You are locked in studio with us. Because the man, the manly man in the studio, who I have a feeling that you are an amazing dancer, which we're going to have to figure out one day, and maybe that's your next series.
Fortunately, I'm commonly smashed drunk.
You're commonly smashed drunk, so you'll be that.
And if I'll be either looking for a fight or for a dance, so...
one of two. Or maybe
both if you're Irish.
If you're Irish. Now, we have Amit Kling here with the news you missed in history. This week in history was as bloody and horrific.
Well, we'll start with some. You always say bloody and horrific, and I go like, yeah, bloody and horrific. But it's actually the tone should be like, yes, it's bloody and horrific. But seriously, September 5th, 1972. This is mostly we got pretty recent stories
September 5th, 1972.
Yes, that's
Olympics.
Yes, the Munich. Yes, Black September.
Wow. Yeah. Right, the Black September.
Something just fell on my leg.
Black September, 11 Israeli athletes murdered in Munich. Wow. I want to tell you before you continue.
and let's... also a 12th victim, a German police officer.
A German police officer. But before you continue, there's one remarkable, horrific time in history. We all remember this, and we also, everybody saw Spielberg's Munich. It's also a groundbreaking moment in television history, I have to tell you.
Yes.
Because it's the first time that a news event actually, what happened, there were so many news reporters covering the Olympics. And this is one of the first news events that's covered live because they're all there, essentially. And, the make-or break, they're all there, and it's covered live on the air, which made it even more dramatic. And,
Yes, and also another point regarding that is that it's also turned out to be a groundbreaking event in counterterrorism history. That's the fact that this event happened at such a huge such a huge event, it pretty much forced European counterterrorism agencies either to rebuild or restructure. The British SAS was essentially reformed. They organized groups such as the GSG-9. You know, that's the German counterterrorism group, and of course there was it also led to what was known as the Lillehammer Affair in 1973, when Mossad agents were arrested in Norway trying to...
No, this sparked what they called, Israel's famous
blunder.
Modus operandi of we will find you wherever you are if you perpetrated such a crime, was actually sparked by
shoot a waiter.
And shoot a waiter, exactly. Or shoot away Lillehammer is a very and get the person wrong.
Yeah.
But yes, that's the thing that we all remember. Yes, moving on.
Okay. September 1st, 1985, they found, after almost 70 years, the wreck of the Titanic.
I did not know that.
Well, now you do know that.
Okay, and that is what sparked later on in 1990-something, a very bad movie. Never mind. I understood that.
No, let's talk about how horrendous that was.
Wreck of Titanic discovered was 1985.
By a man named Robert Ballard. Now, obviously they knew the area for years, and since it was a disaster involving white people,
they continued looking for decades. They continued looking
for
decades. Because, rich people.
Exactly. And back in 1916, when it happened...
I know, there was also putting aside...
There were, of course, expeditions back then funded by relatives of rich people who died on the Titanic. But they didn't just, for decades, it was so deep in, they didn't have the equipment to dive that in. So Robert Ballard, in 1985, comes in with a remote-controlled deep-sea vehicle called Argo.
Yes.
And he finds the wreckage.
And 10 years later, television crews actually went with something similar and basically, shot. My God, yes, they found the wreckage. It's still, to this day, it's haunting to see these pictures. It's just very, very haunting to see these pictures. Fascinating. Moving along.
Yes. September 3rd, 1991, Frank Capra died. Yes.
Oh, you know me so well.
I do know you well.
You do know me so well.
No, but this...
No, Frank Capra. You take it, you start.
I'll start.
Please.
Iconic director. We have a bit from It's a Wonderful Life.
We do? Okay, let's please watch A Wonderful Life.
Let's enjoy this.
Yes, it's wonderful news. For when all these wonderful people get into the swim, it's a wonderful life. For never before has any film contained such a full measure of the joy of living, the drama of living, and above all, the glorious romance that makes this such a wonderful life.
Don't you ever get tired of just reading about things?
Yeah. Don't you just want to travel? Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
He does.
Yes.
It's amazing that that's how they did trailers back then.
No, and it's not just iconic, but things that I think really set the mode for the genres of Hollywood that we're almost seeing to this day.
Yes, and at the same time, I don't think there's any filmmaker working today with Capra as a pronounced influence.
True.
It's interesting because, there's something so naive, and I'm saying this in a positive way.
We're having a hipster conversation, you and I, right now. But yes, go ahead.
I'm fine with that.
You're fine with that. It's totally a hipster conversation. Sure, I'm sorry. Yes.
But because of how naive his outlook is, again, I'm saying this in a positive way.
Right.
It's the voice of his
times. But the world was naive, and you cannot really hide things. You could sell this before the internet.
Of course, exactly. And of course, the only film that was almost direct Capra homage is the Coen Brothers. It's the Hudsucker Proxy.
It's the Hudsucker Proxy. That's because it's very nice. Okay, good student here. Yes, move along.
There you go. September 4th, 1998. I think that's eventually going to be the day looked back on as the day of the rise of the machines.
Okay, yes.
That's when,
it was so scaring our guest in studio.
She should be afraid.
You guys are going to dance it out. Nice. We're going to dance it out, folks. Yes, moving along.
Are we when the robots...
No, probably. So why would you say it's the rise of the machine?
Because that's the day Larry Page and Sergey Brin founded Google.
That is when Google was founded.
Yes, it was.
That was 1998.
1998.
That's that long ago. They've been mastering and controlling our lives.
Yes. No. What? First of all, I think we have a little video.
We have a look. Let's take a look.
When we were trying to name Google, we actually went through thousands of names. The name of the company has now become its own verb in the dictionary.
Let's Google it.
You can Google it.
Work the Google on the internet machine.
6 simple letters
on a plain white page.
Being able to do searches in any language about any country.
When you're putting in a question, they'd finish your question for you.
We have been working on organizing the world's information.
So Google created in 1998. I'm personally very terrified of Google, but completely addicted.
As you should be.
As you should be, yeah. Sadly, very little time that we have left. Amit Kling, I want to thank you because it's always a pleasure to have you in studio. As you surprise us, Shia, I want to tell you that I may dance it out with you. But thank you for being with us this morning, I-24 News Morning Edition. And we are leaving you off on pictures, live pictures coming from Hungary, where many, many refugees are being allowed finally on the trains that were locked actually as of yesterday. And these are people who managed to make it all the way to Europe, get to Hungary, bought tickets for Germany that has eased restrictions on refugees. Those trains were not being let on trains yesterday. Maybe this morning, after the world saw the horrific pictures of what the refugees have to go through and the death of a young child off the shores of Turkey, maybe that is why they are being let to continue their way. But we are seeing the refugees that made it to Hungary in the train station, getting on and making their way to Germany from the war-torn region of Syria. Stay with I-24 News for the rest of the news throughout the day. Now, the headlines. Thank you for being with us this morning.